We will go ahead and get the meeting going. We'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. And could we all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? And Ashley, would you like to lead this one?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, and may we have a roll call, please?
Chair Aaron Todd,
Present.
Vice Chair Ashley Conley,
Present.
Commissioner Cameron Cariceles,
Present.
Commissioner Alex Flores,
Present.
Commissioner Derek Farage.
Here.
Did we get Alex?
Yes.
Okay, perfect, sorry. All right, thank you. And the consent calendar, is there a motion to approve the minutes from the February meeting?
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes. I'll second.
Perfect, we have a first and a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? No. Perfect. Oral communication, this is an opportunity for citizen presentations or comments not related to the agenda items, but within the responsibility of the Fillmore Planning Commission. Each speaker would be limited to 5 minutes. Are there any speaker cards that we are aware of? No, perfect. All right, thank you for that. And number 6, presentation, city staff presentation of the City of Fillmore Downtown Strategic Plan, and we'll go ahead and turn it over to city staff.
Thank you so much, Chair, members of the Planning Commission. My name is Manuel Minjares. I'm the Assistant City Manager for the City of Fillmore. Thank you so much for having me here today. And what I'm here to do is to give you an update on the city's economic development strategy and the things that we've been working on implementing, and hopefully give you an update and give you also an opportunity to stay plugged in and follow along as we continue with this with our plans. So I'm going to actually just work from a PowerPoint that our city manager presented to the city council back in April of last year. And then I'll go into providing an update that on items that the city has been working on since this update was presented. So at the time, what the city manager presented to the city council was getting direction from them on an implementation plan. And this implementation plan was worked on with the city manager and an ad hoc committee that consists of 2 city council members, and those are Albert Mendez and John Garnica. And so based on their meetings, they came up with a plan. And so this report also included parts of that plan that staff had worked on and had been implementing. And so part of that plan included business support materials. So there was a storefront principles, how to open a business brochure that was created, and that's available currently on our website, and that was shared with businesses, our downtown businesses. And then also a business recruitment packet that the city had completed. And it's available now. We also created a downtown rehabilitation grant program, and this was used, this project to use one-time funds that were set aside with ARPA dollars. And so with this program, the city was able to assist 10 businesses, including Estrella Market, which is located just across the street here on Central Avenue and Main Street, and then also the theater. And so that was part of the implementation plan. This project also included a branding initiative. So this branding initiative brought together stakeholders and leaders from the community to develop a branding toolkit for the city to use and logos for identity consistency. And so that's been created, and that was part of, I'll take a step back, that's part of the retail the downtown economic development strategy that was created with our consultant Retail Strategies. And so these milestones are elements of that plan that have been completed. Another milestone that had been completed last year was the Fillmore Family Fun Day, which was a partnership with the Economic Development Collaborative of Ventura County. And just to give a little update on that, we've established a business roundtable, and that started in July of 2025. And these meetings started off as bi-monthly meetings where we would invite members of the business community to get an update on city projects, city initiatives, and also get feedback on how the city can be a better partner with our business community. So these started off as bi-monthly meetings, and now they're taking place monthly. The group is considering whether or not they want to continue with monthly meetings, because this would require that this business roundtable become a standing public meeting. And so they're trying to figure out if that's the path they want to go, or if they want to keep it more of an ad hoc style committee. But we've been increasing our participation from businesses throughout the duration of the time that we've been holding these meetings. We really look to hold these meetings within different locations at different businesses throughout the city. Our last meeting took place at the Fillmore Town Theater. We've had previous meetings at the Red Engine Brewery and at Bun-In Chevrolet, and participation with R&Q Kitchen. So we're trying to keep a strong connection with our business community, and I think it's really worked. As part of that, and as part of the implementation plan, we've also started a database of businesses, so we can keep in contact with them. In addition to a community-wide newsletter, and that was one of the strategies that Retail Strategies, the consultant that we hired to help us with our economic development plan, had recommended that we put together. So if I continue, there was a list of short-term priorities, mid-term priorities, and long-term priorities that were recommended for the city to follow. So there was a downtown beautification was recommended, and with this, the city committed to quarterly power washing of Central Avenue in front of the storefronts, and then also with quarterly updates and replacement of the plantings in the planter areas. So if you notice, on a quarterly basis, we are updating the plant life, and it does have a really improving, aesthetically improving effect. Next, we've been working on updating the city's website, and if you get a chance to browse the city website, we've got a tab under economic development where we're giving information on the business roundtable meetings. So the upcoming meetings, you can download agendas from previous meetings, our meeting minutes. And so we're trying to keep the results of these meetings transparent and available to not just our business community, but all the members of the public as well. In terms of targeted marketing, we've talked with some software providers that provide some very detailed shopping habits that are really custom to your community. And, there is a financial cost to these type of systems, and at this point we have not prioritized engaging with one of these platforms as of yet. We're taking a look at some other implementation of some other software systems to shore up our planning department, our building and safety department first. But that's something definitely that we have on our mind and targeted for the future. And number 4, we have the Business Spotlight Program, and this was actually something that was brought up to city staff by our city clerk. Her name is Olivia Carrera, and so she came up with the idea of, hey, look, let's feature some of our downtown businesses in a video, and inform the public of what kind of businesses that we have downtown, and try to encourage some of our residents who may not know what type of businesses that we have in the downtown area. So when we launched the program, we went through a nomination process. So we had other businesses nominate other businesses. So as a result of that, we featured 2 so far. The first one was Estrella Market, and we published that video on Instagram, and it was very, very successful. It had a lot of impressions, a lot of likes, and really improved our overall numbers in terms of followers on our social media accounts. And then the second one we did was just as popular, and that was with Vintage Pleasures, which is a retail store right in downtown, if you haven't passed by it. So the Business Spotlight program has been successful, and we look forward to continuing the program. We'll have to balance that with all of our other economic development endeavors, but it's been very well received at this time. The other short-term priorities were what we call ambience enhancements, and this was adding, lighting to downtown, and we've been able to do that in the downtown for our holiday season. And for long-term and for more permanent type of lighting, we're working with Edison on providing the appropriate electrical connection to service. Right now, we're having to work with downtowns and their existing connections to provide the lighting services. So, but that's something that we're working on, and we've been able to do for the holiday season. Medium-term priority, what was identified here was, conducting outreach to identify business owners and investors that are interested in looking, so more of a recruitment strategy. That is something that we are currently working on, but we have not begun that phase of our economic development strategy as of yet. Long-term priorities, really taking a look at the downtown specific plan. It was implemented back in the 90s, and it's certainly, like many other of our plans, like our zoning ordinance, our general plan, are in need of significant updates. But as in talking with our community development director, it's kind of important to start at the top, because the plans that come underneath feed off of the goals and objectives that are identified with the general plan. So those are some of our longer term priorities that we know that we need to tackle, is updating those really important large planning documents. And in the meantime, we continue to work on projects that are achievable. And so I don't know if you've noticed, but we've had a banner located up downtown. It served really good. We got really good feedback from businesses mentioning that customers had mentioned that they saw it, and it drew them into the downtown area. We've replaced the banner that we had installed in 2025 due to weather damage, and so we're trying to be consistent and keep that going. Wayfinding signage, that was a strategy that was identified in the retail strategies document. And what that looks to do is to install signage throughout the community to direct people passing through, members of the community, to our shopping locations and our public locations as well. So a wayfinding sign program would strategically locate those signs to help direct folks through the community. And so what we've done is we've contracted with, we'll be taking to City Council in the very near future a proposal for them to work with us and create a stakeholder group to develop a wayfinding sign program. And in the meantime, we've also engaged with this consultant to design a wayfinding sign that will be installed off of Highway 126 that will aim to capture traffic coming from the Santa Clarita, Piru area, eastbound traffic heading west, inbound westward. And so, that will be doing simultaneously while we develop the wayfinding sign program for the community as a whole. And then I mentioned the business network that we're developing. And let's see, from there, I'll just give you a little bit more updates on some of the items that we've been working on, then I'll open it up to questions. In these business roundtable meetings, we do have it as an open forum to businesses to communicate with city staff. And some of the items that they mentioned were, the need for improving the way that we do our power washing. And so some of these things seem small, but they're significant to the business owners. So when we power washed, apparently we were not being, very considerate, and I think in some areas we made a bigger mess than actually cleaning. So we got that feedback, and we took that back to our contractor Venco, and they've been doing a much better job. So having a forum to hear out the business community allows us to fix areas where we can make these small improvements, but improvements that really that are appreciated and really helped out the downtown. We've also repaired the damaged planters in the downtown area. There was concern about the lack of parking that was available in the downtown area and the fact that we were not enforcing our 2-hour requirement there. So we've worked with our sheriff's department to enforce that 2-hour requirement, and we've seen that has worked, and there's more parking available in the downtown. Now we just need our community to come and support and shop. But that's something that's been improved. With the hiring of our senior management analyst, we've greatly improved our communications through our social media channels. We've reestablished Channel 10 and are sharing important messages to the community through Channel 10 again. And so that's been an area where we've been able to improve our communication. Sidewalk repair, we've identified areas along Central Avenue that were in need of sidewalk repair and have followed through there. There's still work to be done, but we have actively been improving that situation. We've also heard feedback on the fact that there wasn't a public restroom in the downtown area, and that impacted shopping behavior. So we worked with our public works department, and they added it to their rounds to open and close with our other public restrooms at our parks. So we have that open now, 7 days a week. In addition to that, we are in communications with Sierra Northern Railroad. Sierra Northern Railroad has a 35-year contract with Ventura County Transportation Commission to operate and maintain freight storage along the Santa Paula branch line, and then also tourist train type of activities. And of course, they haven't been able to run any of those activities within the last couple of years because of the damage to the Sespe Creek rail bridge. So VCTC is working with is obtained a grant from FEMA. And they were working on construction. Unfortunately, the latest storms set them back a little bit. The latest information that I heard was that they're hoping for a completion date of July of this year, of 2026. So the hope with that is that Sierra Northern and the Sunburst Rail Line will resume tourist activity along the train through Fillmore, and they've indicated interest in doing that, and we've had some talks about the potential for them to lease the ticket booth. That's right. It's connected with the restrooms along the railroad promenade. So there's been a lot of activity in around the economic development sphere, and I think this came across to the Planning Commission as a result of the 1/3 retail requirement policy removal that came before the Planning Commission. And it's not at every meeting that an economic development issue comes before the Planning Commission. And so, it's important that we have these updates for you so that you know what's going on in that realm, and you can be better educated when something like an economic development type of change does come before your board. So let's see, is there anything else I want to include? There are other requests from the business roundtable that have come across that we're going to have to triage and assess with all the other work that we're currently undertaking. There's a desire for by some of the business owners to have the city look at where we can reduce fees for events. And, this is it's a tricky area because there are very, very real costs that the city staff undertakes in the Public Works Department, our Sheriff's Department, our Fire Department in terms of time and their presence and in reviewing plans that's needed to be recovered. But at the same time, when those fees that are passed on to the event creators, it makes it very difficult to put on an event and have a return on their time and investment. So it's an area that we know that we need to look at, and we're going to study and work with them on. The retail strategies document did recommend that we, take a look at the feasibility of potentially a vacancy tax, and with the goal of trying to motivate some of our property owners here in the downtown area that have vacant buildings to, move on them to actively engage more businesses to fill these vacancies or sell these buildings to property owners that maybe have more of a desire or a willingness to get them filled. So that's been a policy that's been expressed for the city to follow through on. And then also in the report mentioned a vacant storefront registry ordinance. And this also is to incentivize property owners to rehabilitate, lease, or sell their buildings within the downtown area. So we have a lot on our plate, and there's a lot that we are working on. And we invite you to come out to the roundtable meetings if you have a chance. And I'd like to open it up to any questions that the Planning Commission might have.
All right, Manny, thank you for that. We appreciate it. It's always good seeing you in person instead of talking on the phone. Are there any questions for the Assistant City Manager?
I have a couple. Thank you for the presentation. With regards to the flyers you said that the city has created for how to open a business, is that just how to open it within the city and the city's requirements, or does it reach out to state of California for retail identification numbers for sales tax, the county assessor for personal property, and even maybe other resources like the Small Business Administration? Does it encompass everything, or is it just how to open and deal with the city?
From what my recollection, it does have links and references to state and county resources for opening up a business. So it's pretty well largely encompassed. Now I'm sure it doesn't cover every type of business, but no, it casts somewhat of a wide net, if I would use to describe that. And certainly if you were to take a look at it and have some recommendations for improving it, we're always looking to update it and make the information that we passed out more effective.
Okay. You talked about the grant program that we used ARPA funds for. And do we have any type of metrics on the 10 businesses that received it? Were they all in the downtown area,
Yes.
or was it citywide? And do we have any updates? Are they still in business? The type of grant program that was kind of our return on that.
Yeah, so the grant program looked to help with facade improvements. So these were awnings, painting, these type of improvements, window improvements. From my recollection, the businesses that were assisted, all of them are still open for business, and they were really appreciative of the impact that it had on their buildings.
Okay. From all these ad hoc meetings that you've had with the city council and just talks about the downtown plan with council, what are the council's priorities, and what has that translated to the city manager's office?
Yeah, so the priorities were essentially laid out in the retail strategies plan for the most part, and those were the priorities that I went over with you. So they were to create a business roundtable so we can create a forum to listen to the businesses directly. and address their needs. So we have a consistent place to do that. They were to, of course, implement the storefront improvement program, the beautification. So all the items that I described were their priorities. So
I guess my question is, what is the council like really pushing for? Like, what's their top priority in your, I think there is the short-term, goals, the long-term goals and everything. What are they really wanting to focus on?
Well, they want to support our downtown businesses, and certainly, and they want to look at ways where they can reduce, improve our vacancy numbers, for certain.
And then just my last one, with the Sierra Northern Rail, have we heard any of the type of tourist type of activities that they are planning once, the railroad is, fixed and repaired? Because their business model is mostly on the, kind of industrial and agricultural, but like, the rail was the lifeblood of Fillmore for long periods of time. Have they come forward with their projected activities that they're going to do to bring in tourism?
Yeah, we've had communication with their operators, and what they want to do in the near future is to do exactly what they're doing in Santa Paula, and this is their rail bike operation. And their rail bike operation is where they have those the electric rail bikes, electric assisted rail bikes, where they have two individuals on a bike, and they ride to a destination and have lunch and then ride back. And so that's been very successful for them in Santa Paula, and I know that's where they want to start. And in terms of the community in the past, that's different. We didn't have a rail bike when Fillmore and Western was running the tourist attraction. It was holiday trains. It was Thomas the Tank. It was the Santa Clara River Valley Railroad Historical Society Rail Fest. So in holiday trains and mystery trains, right? Dinner on the trains. And so I think it's going to take, it may take a while for them to ramp up their efforts, but that's where they want to start. They want to start with the rail bikes.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, thank you. Anybody else?
Yes. I do have some questions. You could go first.
I have a couple. Regarding the long-term, short-term, medium-term, what's the time frame? Are we I take it we're in the short term right now?
I'd say, this, when was this? Let me just bring up a staff report here to see when retail strategies actually completed. So, okay, 2022. It was completed in 2022, so I feel like we're in the mid-range, phase. So, and during this mid-range phase, we're still doing short-range type of items, but we're also doing mid and long range. So in terms of like the mid-range stuff, I'd say it's definitely the development of this wayfinding sign program. And then from there, that's going to be, identifying the funds to actually install the signs. That's going to cost some money. And so it may be that we have to do a phased approach. So that may be like a mid to long-term type of plan. One other plan that I didn't mention that we'd like to pursue, perhaps with a consultant, is the development of a tax increment financing district in the downtown area to have a longer source of funding for improvement projects in the downtown area. This essentially would reallocate property tax dollars. It wouldn't be a tax on any businesses. This wouldn't be a tax on any individual property owner. It would just essentially get a process where you work with the state to have funds reallocated for a specific purpose in a downtown area. So that is an endeavor that we want to pursue.
The other one is, once the bridge is open, it says to be, how long does the city see them getting into business with the railroads? Like, when would that start? When would that process start? Because July is a couple of months from now.
Yeah, and it's a very good question. And in talking with one of their executives, they have the foresight of wanting to time the opening of the railroad with them being able to begin operations relatively quickly. And so, unfortunately, with the damage to or with the setback that they incurred with the rain event, that kind of pushed back our talks on the negotiation for the rent of the ticket office. So, but their goal is to time that very, very quickly and get up and going with their rail bike operation quickly.
And then my last one is the vacancy tax that you mentioned. How does that implement to the 1/3? So that's a big deal right now, that, we're going back and forth with that 1/3 retail.
Yeah, with the vacancy tax, the vacancy tax would really look to try to spur the property owners that have vacant buildings to actively engage and find, tenants to come into their spaces. That's how the vacancy tax would be designed. The 1/3 retail removal of that requirement is, what that is that's saying, the city saying, hey, look, this policy may be making it more difficult for you to find eligible tenants to come into your space. So I think us removing this 1/3 retail, it makes sense to do before maybe looking at a vacancy tax and having something that would be considered more punitive. But even before that, part of our economic development strategy also is to have a meeting where we would invite business owners in the downtown area to say, let's sit down, let's talk about, what are our pressures as a city and as the business owners here, and let's hear from you as the property owners. What are your challenges in finding tenants, and how can we work more closely together to help each other out before going down the road of a vacancy tax? So that's one of our objectives in the near future.
That's it.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Yes. So just going back to the railroad thing, so you're saying that the new operator is going to be transporting freight on there?
Well, so they have authorization along the Santa Paula branch line to do that, but they have to work out specific relationships with the city. So they have, I think they have 2 businesses that they have a freight agreement with in Santa Paula, and that's all.
Okay, so they wouldn't be transporting freight through Fillmore?
Not without some type of agreement in advance, right?
Okay.
I mean, just when they open up, that's not something that they'll begin doing right away, or may not be ever do in the future.
Okay.
But, yeah.
So, a couple other questions. I know that the retail strategies document, they had 5 pillars that they kind of broke down. The pillars were, market analysis, policy administration, design, tourism and promotion, and then economic vitality. And then each one of those had like a short, medium, and long-term list. And I'm just wondering, because it seemed like the ones that you showed, are those just the ones that are kind of are those specific goals that were developed with the city council, and kind of looking at all of those broadly and then coming together and saying these are the ones that we care about? Or was the whole strategy adopted, but it's going to be, I guess, the first question is more important. Was it synthesized into some specific goals, and then what's happening with the rest of the long and short and medium term strategies, I guess, for each pillar?
Yeah, so from what I gathered from the staff report was that the retail strategies plan, it guided the conversation with the ad hoc committee. So with the retail strategies plan, that was the framework with which the direction was given to city management to pursue. And henceforth, all the items that I explained with you. And so with as far as all the items identified within the pillars, what we're trying to do is definitely identify and work on these items in these short-term, mid-term, and long-range type of goals. So I I feel that we're doing our best to stick to that plan. And, you know, the tricky part is when you're able to, you know, commence some of those longer term objectives, like, you know, our general plan. Actually, you know, Kevin informed me that we've set aside some funds for next year to begin that process, and it's going to be a years long process, and then from there we work on subsequent plans that will help us.
So I just want to reiterate to make sure I understood. So you're saying that the ad hoc committee took the retail strategies document and then kind of decided which things were a priority, and then that's kind of where it's like a jumping off point rather than like a document that's going to keep getting referenced and...
I wouldn't say that.
Okay.
What I would say is that that's where I feel like they started. They started as an ad hoc committee, and it's going to be staff's job to keep that front and center when, you know, as we move along and implementing, you know, their strategies, and say, hey, look, we've done this, and this, and, you know, we haven't maybe done this, and, you know, how do you want us to proceed?
Okay, and is the term still going, I mean, they suggest it be all done in 5 years, and I don't know if that's possible at all, but is there a term, I guess, is it the goal to accomplish all of the things that they've set forth eventually, or is that not the goal?
You know, I think in reviewing the plan document, I think it has very achievable recommendations, and recommendations that I think are beneficial to the community. So I believe it's our goal is to implement, you know, the objectives that have been identified.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then regarding the financial incentives, you talked about the storefront program that had the ARPA funding and that it's since like kind of expired.
Yep.
Are there any other financial incentives or assistance programs planned specifically for the downtown, either the potential tenants or the property owners?
You know, not right at this moment, there aren't any funds identified. You know, the ARPA dollars were one-time funds, and we did try to maximize those the best we can. There are other resources that other agencies help out with or have grants. So these are, you know, your Economic Development Collaborative, Ventura County. They've come down and have met with our roundtable and have offered to design, you know, workshops specifically for you know, their needs. So we're working with them, and they're going to be presenting a workshop at a future meeting this year. We're working closely with, then there's Weave, Women's Economic Ventures, and they have grant programs where businesses within our communities can apply and obtain grants for their businesses to support their businesses. So really what we're doing is where there is money, we're working through the business roundtable is to connect our businesses to those agencies to get those funds in the absence of something like an ARPA, which would help us to continue to fund a storefront rehab program.
So it's primarily with the existing businesses, but in terms of like, I know that you talked about the how to start a business document and stuff like that. What about, you know, working with the property owners to have, instead of having the gray shell, you know, being able to have a tenant-ready space, you know, some type of incentive like that. I know you're talking about the vacancy tax, but instead of, you know, the stick helping with the carrot, you know what I'm saying? Anything like that?
So there, I don't know if you may have been, I think you were at the
Business Roundtable.
The Business Roundtable meeting, and we had a business owner, Eric Swenson, propose what he called the WIN program, which was, you know, an opportunity for a business to allow for volunteers within the community to dress up a vacant window space so that it had more street appeal, more public appeal. And even that being an incentive program that could be worked into a vacancy tax program. So, you know, we really love that the storefront rehab, the the business roundtable is a forum where we can get ideas from our businesses to potentially incorporate with policy. So we're definitely have our ears open, and when something is recommended that makes sense to incorporate, we're going to take that and work with that.
Okay. I think that's all of my questions.
I had just a couple.
Sure.
Has there been a lot of interest in events coordinators to hold events downtown?
Well, you know, it's hard to say what a lot is, but we've had interest expressed. We've had interest expressed for bringing back the May Festival. And we did have an individual that was trying to get an event done on really short notice in the fall, and that didn't pan out. And then there are folks that have been able to pull off some events. We had a private group that coordinated a Dia de los Muertos event that took place in this past November. That was done completely by an independent group in partnership, I believe, with the school district. And I hear that it was a success. So there is interest. I think this community really finds its identity in its history and the events that it's had in the past, and there is a desire to bring back the May Festival. But like I said, it's a significant challenge that has its cost when they want to do things like sell alcohol. When alcohol is being sold, then the city, we say, hey, look, well, we're gonna need to have some extra sheriffs just to be available in case something happens, and we're not pooling our limited resources that we have on a regular day-to-day basis, and those are significant costs. So it's a challenge, but we're here and ready to work with folks that want to have events.
Is there any sort of city campaign to attract event coordinators to hold events? Because I know there's other cities hold weekly or monthly farmer markets. They have night market events, and these are organized by pretty big, organizations that have the financial backing to afford those additional fees. I was just curious, does the city have any marketing campaign to reach out and try to draw interest into these larger event coordinators?
So the city was working on trying to gauge interest in an art walk type of event. And we spent a pretty considerable amount of time reaching out to vendors that we would feel that would fit in with such an event. And unfortunately, we didn't get any takers. And part of it is it's a new event. So when you start a new event, it's hard to tell them, well, we're going to get 10,000, we're going to get 20,000 people. So I think they were a little risk averse, and so I think, taking that into consideration, we see the challenges that event coordinators do have. I am speaking with a business downtown that has expressed, as I mentioned before, a desire to have the city to reanalyze some of our fees to try to make it more affordable. So that's I'd say that's.
Are those fees fixed, or are they tiered, or are they based on the event type?
They're fixed fees.
So no matter what size of event you're going to be?
Well, no, I wouldn't say that. We do have a fee for a small event, and we do have a larger, a fee for a larger event. So in some instances, they are tiered, now that you mention it.
When you were saying about the art walk, that was something the city was trying to organize.
That's correct.
But I think what Cameron's asking is, is there any effort to attract like a large event, X Games, for example, in Ventura? I mean, not them, but maybe them. Something like that where they have the funds to be able to pay whatever fees, and they'll bring people from outside of the city to come attend this event as well. Anything like that?
I'll say, to my knowledge, no, but we are staying plugged in with economic development groups that meet regularly downtown now that we have our senior management analyst working with us. So there's groups that meet countywide on different economic development events, tourism related, technology, kind of business attraction related. And so now that we have staff, we were able to have them attend these events. And one of the biggest things that the county's trying to get prepared for and cities are trying to get prepared for are the incoming Olympics and then also the FIFA World Cup. So we're actively engaged with the folks that are leading the charge and trying to see, okay, how is Ventura County going to play a role? And then for that matter, how are each of our cities going to play a role in helping to attract that business?
I think that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, just a couple. I know that with the discussion of fees for like the downtown area, fees for this, fees for that. I watched a pretty interesting, it was like a 2-minute video that ABC7 put out with the city manager of Simi Valley where they filming. I know filming is like a hot topic right now. The city of Simi Valley says last year they made $5.25 million just for filming. And they were able to cut down on some of their fees because they didn't need a city staff person on site the whole time. It was a fee they were able to drop. Has there been any discussion to possibly reaching out to that community, the filming community, to see if they would be interested in coming out into this area to either continue or resume or even new filming? Because like Mandalorian was filmed in Simi Valley. Just little things like that to try to, if even 1 or 2 films were filmed out here, for example, it could help cut down on thinking down the road of raising some fees for something else, or even trying to draft a new fee for something.
Yeah, you know what? We actually experienced a significant uptick in filming this year, from what I was told, and that began in the summer. And so this did result in several $100,000 in additional revenue. So it is part of our economic development strategy. We did have our staff member attend what's called Permit Palooza, and this is coordinated by Bill Bartels, who's the film liaison for Ventura County. And what that looks to do is to get all the film permit technicians from all the different jurisdictions and come up with ways on how we can improve our permitting process. So we're actively engaged in trying to improve our process and having our fees adjusted so that we maximize our revenue generation for film permitting.
Okay, and does anybody from the city that you know of, and if you don't, that's cool, but somebody reach out to SAG or reach out to Disney or any of the filming agencies to just put an additional like, hey, we're here type thing. That way, if it's not on their radar, it clicks at some point maybe?
We haven't gotten there yet. So right now, we don't have an active staff member reaching out to these areas to try to, bring it in. That's another. I think you could even say that's another strategy, an economic development strategy that we can work on.
Okay, and then the other question that I had was on long-term, on medium priorities and long-term priorities. Did the city council or you come up with a backup plan to where if a medium priority turns into a long term, and let's say a long term turns into a longer term, is there a way to try to mitigate from turning into longer to help keep that priority list relevant and like a breathing document so it doesn't get too stale?
Well, you pretty much took my answer. I think the goal is to really treat the document like it is a breathing document. It's not something that is going to be static. As our economy shifts, as consumer behavior shifts, we have to be flexible and be ready to change our goals as needed to be able to meet the needs of our business community. So I think that is the perspective that we have to have. Is that document? It is a guiding light, and it was guided by very good data that was relevant at the time, but it's probably going to need to be updated every so often with fresh data.
Okay, and then the last one is more of a comment / question.
Sure.
For wayfinding signage, the last thing we as a city need is to put up a hypothetical number, $100,000 sign on the 126, and then heaven forbid a natural disaster occurs. Mm-hmm. That goes down and takes forever to get reimbursed. Has the city reached out to like I don't know if it's called Waze or Wazi or Google or Google Maps or Apple Maps there's a way, I've seen the technology where if there's historic points in addition to like what they currently have listed, a little informational bar will pop up, and if they're coming up east or westbound 126 and they get to Central, it'll say, hey, do you know if you've made a right within 1,000 feet is a historic downtown area, check it out. I know there's a cost to it, I don't know what it is, but has anybody, or have you guys, or has the city thought of reaching out to like one of the map providers to find out what the cost would be for that? Because thousands of people travel the 126 daily, if not tens of thousands. So it's, in addition to what's there now, it's additional signage that is literally in everybody's phone.
No, we haven't, but it gives me, a good idea for something I could recommend to the Heritage Valley Tourism Bureau. And we contribute to the Tourism Bureau. It's a small amount, but the Tourism Bureau is actively looking at ways to support tourism in a way that's different from maybe how it was done 10 or 15 years ago, where we would, get an ad in a brochure, did something on paper, So I think this is a really great idea that we can say, hey, Tourism Bureau, is this something that we can look into in our contribution? Could you look into see if this is something we can afford with our contribution? So I think it's a great idea.
No, I appreciate the looking into that, because I think, we as consumers look for the next great restaurant or great area to visit, and right down the street is ideal. But with the amount of traffic that goes through on a daily basis, especially on weekends, and it's a matter of time until that traffic starts backing up for summer, Ventura, westbound. But I really would like to try to maximize our exposure being the last best small town. So I think that is even the technology, but it's in everybody's phone.
Yeah.
So that's
idea.
what I think.
Thank you.
Perfect, thank you. And does anybody else have any questions for City Staff? Okay. Thank you so
Awesome.
much.
Thank you so
I appreciate
much.
it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Should we run the time or talk about anything? Just want to see. Perfect, so then we'll go ahead and move on to number 7, public hearing. None, perfect, all right, I have my microphone on, I apologize. Manny makes me nervous. All right, so there are no public hearings, so we will go ahead and move on to number 8, reports and communications, and 8A, planning commissioner brief reports. Does anybody have anything that they would like to briefly report on? Other than running into each other in the store at some point? Nope? Okay.
Well, yeah, I mean, the 4 of us attended and Kevin and Brian attended the Planning Commissioners Academy down in Anaheim last week. It was a 3-day event, very educational, at least for me. It seemed like what mostly was focused on was, the new laws regarding density bonuses for housing projects, and kind of the movement towards more ministerial review of housing projects, and then kind of the more critical, or the commissioner's role moving into being more critical at the planning stages, sort of the more objective standards development. That was kind of my takeaway, so I don't know if anyone else has anything to share about it.
No, I found it very interesting. Echoing what Ashley said, yeah, the diminishing role of reviews of housing projects by the Planning Commission and in general, and going more to ministerial. So that was a huge point. I thought they were drilling into everybody. But yeah, found it very informative, and in what our role here is as commissioners. So yeah.
That's good information. Anybody else? No? No? Okay, perfect. All right, so we will move on to 8B, the Planning and Community Development Director verbal report, and we'll turn it over to Kevin.
Thank you. I do have a few items. We had a groundbreaking ceremony today for Williams Homes product called Creekside in North Fillmore, in the North Fillmore specific plan area. That project consists of 134 units. They will construct the models during the summer. So that's occurring right now. For the Bridges subdivision, as I stated before, there is an expectation that project will be completed in December 2026. We are reviewing the new 10-acre park that's between Heritage Valley Parkway and the Santa Clara River in the bike path there. It'll consist of 3 under age 10 soccer fields, 2 tot lots, 2 volleyball courts, and a parking lot. That'll be done hopefully before December. And their entryway at Trestle Way, it's a 2.5 acre site, and that'll be done before December too. And everybody talks about Sonic. I think you can witness or see what's occurring with Sonic. It's not on the city's lap. It's with a contractor, and I'm assuming it'll be done hopefully this summer. That's the best I can say. I don't answer for them, but I think that's what I'm hearing. I don't have any other projects to update you on.
Okay, perfect. Thank you. Does anybody have any questions for Kevin? No? All right, thank you, Kevin, for that. And before I adjourn the meeting, I just want to say thank you to the city staff for everything that you do for us. Thank you for being here for us, and the behind the scenes, thank you. Michael, thank you as always for all your knowledge. And we will go ahead and adjourn this meeting until the next regular scheduled meeting on April 22nd, 2026 at 6:30 here in City Council chambers. And thank you.